Denton was born with arthrogryposis multiplex congenita. Arthrogryposis multiplex is a contractures of one or more muscles and joints. It keeps them from bending their elbows, or any joints in her case, her elbows, and her shoulders are rotated in. When she was born, her father and I were both very worried that, she would be left behind by other kids and not be able to participate in the activities that they are. So we searched all over. We've been out of state, tried to get all the help we could. Then we found Cabrini Pediatric Therapy, and they have helped so much. It's just right here, close to home, and she's getting all the help she needed.
I first started seeing Denton when she was 15 months old, and she came because she has a diagnosis of arthrogryposis, which severely impacted her ability to have a typical childhood experience and be able to play and care for herself and develop those skills in a typical fashion. When Denton first came, she couldn't move her arms. They were fixed in what we call internal rotation, which means that at the shoulder joint, they were completely turned in, which she could use her fingers pretty well to manipulate toys, but she had to play here at the floor. She couldn't move around and really investigate her environment very easily, carrying toys from point A to point B, anything that required lifting, even maybe this much movement in the shoulder, she wasn't able to grasp things and lift them up, holding with the palms of her hand. She would take the back of her hand and hold an item like this, and she could carry it like this. But you take this ball and maybe you want to put it in a basketball hoop. Well, we do things like this. Our world is lifting and reaching and dynamic, and her world was very, very static and still, so she could toss it, but she couldn't lift and place items. So we worked really hard on trying to improve her range and her strength and how that played into her balance, and she would fall frequently because when you can't move well, then you don't get those same development of balance skills. By the time she was 3 years old, Denton had reached age-appropriate function. She may not have normal movement, but she was very functional and had a great increase in how she was able to move her arms and play and interact in her world. So she could dress herself, put a shirt over her head. She learned to take a cup from the table and bring it to her mouth. She could use a spoon and a fork to eat from a plate and bring it to her mouth, whereas before she couldn't reach any of those things and bring them toward her body. So she is a success story, and we're grateful to have the funding that we have from Children's Miracle Network, because without that funding, we couldn't have success stories like Denton.
If you're on the fence about donating, I would really encourage you to. It's because of the donations to the Children's Miracle Network that help the funding for Cabrini Pediatric Therapy Center to have the equipment to use to teach the kids the things they need, the resources to get them the proper equipment to help them learn how to play ball and do activities like every kid can, to have a typical childhood experience.